Spider-Man 2 the greatest superhero story ever told? Or is it just another Insomniac Spider-Man game doing the same old thing with a few improvements? What if I told you Insomniac is capable of doing both? We know what these Sony games are known for: set pieces, cutscenes, combat, a competent story, and not to mention that beautiful Sony slide. I liked Spider-Man 2018 a lot, and I loved Miles Morales even more. The pacing was better with Miles, the gameplay and the story were better, and overall I felt it improved on the experience. With Insomniac basically carrying Sony on its back, could they pull it off again and make this sequel even better? I gotta admit, I kind of went into Spider-Man 2 without any expectations or pedestal that it should live up to. I get so wrapped up and busy with Souls-like games that other games just kind of slip my mind and aren't really my focus until it is. And I play the game and end up loving it, which causes me to make a review. And my Spidey focus is at its highest right now. Spider-Man 2 blew me away. First and foremost, the traversal. I'm sure you've heard that it's amazingly done better than the previous games, and I definitely can co-sign. With the addition of the wingsuit, traversing New York has never felt better. It's quick to get me where I'm going, it feels great, and it never gets old. And speaking of New York, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I know some are comparing New York from Spider-Man 2018 to this game and saying that not much has changed or whatever complaint they have. That falls on deaf ears here. I think the city looks incredible in Spider-Man 2. It's full of detail with beautiful color palettes, especially at sunset and at night. It just looks beautiful, and I'm always in awe that a video game can look this good. Is it buggy at times? Yes, for some gamers. So let's talk about that. With this much open world, bugs are bound to happen. They're not excused, but they just happen. Fortunately for me, I never had any game-breaking bugs, and not even one crash, but I do see others' experiences, and there are definitely some major bugs in the game, such as floating heads, crashing, and NPCs just standing in really odd places. For me, the extent of my bugs were just some enemies' ragdoll effects, making their bodies go underground, or into cars and buildings, things like that. They were more funny than anything, and thankfully it didn't kill my buzz with the game. When it comes to the gameplay, I had an absolute blast, taking down hunters, criminals, and other enemy types I won't spoil. The combat in these games has always been great. 2018 I thought was fantastic, and Miles Morales was even better. The fact that Insomniac was able to continue that run and make the combat even better in Spider-Man 2 amazes me. The combat is just so satisfying, and it actually bothers me when I mess up a combo and it doesn't look as flashy as I'd like. Sometimes I'd actually restart checkpoints just to do the combat sequence better, which says something. Most games I would just move on, but in this game I love to be flashy, I love to have beautiful combos, and I lost track of how many times I said, "Oh my goodness," at how awesome the combat sequences were. My only real complaint is that the gadgets list is kind of small, and Peter and Miles have the same gadgets, so I thought it would have been better if they each had their own set of gadgets. The Spider-Mans do, however, have different abilities and skill trees, which of course is awesome. I loved performing the abilities in between my different combos, and it just made the combat even more enjoyable. Not only did I still favor Miles Morales' combat at the start, but by the end of the game, Peter's combat took it up a whole other level, and I thoroughly enjoyed both. But how about that third wheel? That girl, what's her name? Oh yeah, Mary Jane. I see a lot of complaints about her, and don't get me wrong, I agreed with them when it came to 2018 Spider-Man. I did not like the Mary Jane sections. They felt unnecessary and forced, and trust me, I'd be one of the first in line to complain about those missions if they were bad here too. But in this game, I was pleasantly surprised to see her sections improved a lot, and felt like they actually added to the story, giving her reason to be included. I mean, she is Mary Jane after all, so what's the fuss about really? I thought she was fine. Yes, her stun gun is a bit ridiculous, and yes, she comes off as OP, but honestly, it just didn't really bother me. I wanted to whoop ass non-stop, with her included. I wanted to be a hero and tear things up no matter who I was playing as. The last thing I wanted was having to hide in stealth the entire time with Mary Jane because she's just a girl without superpowers who can't do anything. I really don't get the fuss against her in this game, to be honest, especially when her missions got much better. When it came to the characters, Mary Jane and the Spider-Mans were great, but I gotta say, I loved Harry in this game even more, and he is who really stood out to me and made the story even more interesting. I don't know if I'd say this is the greatest superhero story ever, but it's a damn good example of how one should be told. It kept me interested and most of all, invested. I would sometimes be talking to my screen, calling for Miles to come and help. Even though I knew things would turn out alright, I was still looking like a nerd, yelling at my monitor for Miles to come and help us, please. And talk about a damn hero he is. Miles was great, yet again. Peter did his thing too, and the rest of the cast was well acted and portrayed in my opinion. Overall, I felt the characters did a great job at telling this story. I pretty much played straight through the story, just so you guys know, and I did minimal side stuff until after it ended. So take that all into account when I say I had a freaking blast. The pacing was done really well, and my gosh, those set pieces were just so good. However, once the story was over and I attempted to go back and get some of the side missions done, I can't say they improved much. When it came to the 2018 Spider-Man, I felt the side missions felt lacking, and here we are again with the side missions in Spider-Man 2 falling even more flat. I'm just glad I did not mix these in between my story missions and I just went beat by beat with the story. Because while some side stories are good, others are kind of terrible, so I'm just thankful I didn't see them until after the credits rolled. Another small complaint I have is sometimes I would try and interact with something, but the prompt just wouldn't come up. Like if I had to press L1 and R1 or triangle, it would take a couple seconds to happen. And that got a bit annoying. It didn't happen all the time, but enough to have it in my notes as a negative. And also Black Cat. I could use a little more Black Cat.
Raven must really want you.
I'm not available.
Based on my experience of just playing straight through the story, with the exception of a few times of me just catching bugs or taking care of a couple crimes, Spider-Man 2 sits at a 9 out of 10, and I feel absolutely deserves a Game of the Year nominee. It's not perfect, but it's an awesome experience with a good story to go along with it, and with a game like this, that's very important. I couldn't wait to see what happened next, hence why I ignored the side missions and just kept going. And even more importantly, Insomniac was able to deliver an even better experience in terms of the story, the set pieces, traversal, and the combat. They pulled it off and were able to improve on an already great formula and experience with their prior entries. And that alone is worth admiring. And that's my review, you guys. I'm sure there's things I missed or something that's maybe a little bit less important, but I wanted to make this as concise as possible, direct, and to the point. I enjoyed this game a lot. And it definitely goes down as one of the best this year. And this year has been crazy, just full of great games. So Spider-Man 2 is part of the bunch to make this year even more memorable. And I can't wait to see what Insomniac does next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments section. If you enjoyed Spider-Man 2, let me know. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.
It's coming in hot. I'm there.